jamming into our knee anymore. That's, oh, yeah.
Okay, folks, let's get this show on the road. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for December 6th, 2022. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask that everybody either mute or turn off your cell phones and other electronic devices. And I'll ask Rob to do a roll call for attendance.
Trustee Apatow.
Here.
Trustee Kripe.
Here.
Trustee Handler.
Here.
Trustee Dearborn.
Here.
President Rintz.
Here. Am I on or off? I'm on.
You're on.
Okay. All right, item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Trustee Kripe to lead us this evening.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, Rob, you want to do a quorum check?
Certainly. December 13th study session. Does everybody plan to attend? Okay.
I may,
Maybe?
yeah.
I think I'm there. I'm good.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. December 20th, I had Trustee Dahlman not being able to attend. Anybody else on the 20th?
I won't know until some things are decided.
Okay.
We may end up canceling that meeting.
Okay, I'm here.
If I'm here, I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. Then the month of January, the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th. All those dates.
All good.
I'm in
Okay.
England, but
Oh, yeah, you're on the 3rd, Andy, you're out.
yeah,
Right.
but you know, happy to connect at 1 in the morning.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you, Council.
You know, can
Okay, we good?
Yes.
All right, item 4 is public comment. This is the time of the evening where anybody who wishes to address Village Council on any item that is not on the agenda, they're welcome to come on up to the podium and share their thoughts with us. So if you're here for one of the other items on the agenda, you'd think I would know. Either the Sheridan Road Plat, help me out here, Rob.
The tree removal.
The tree removal, thank
Or
you.
the DeMio contract.
Oh, and the DeMayo contract. So
DeMayo.
if you want to speak to us on anything that's not related to that, you're welcome to come to the podium and let her rip. Katie.
Good evening. Hi, my name's Katie Stevens. I live at 333 Sheridan Road, and I came to talk about lakefront in general. As I drove north on Sheridan Road from my home, there are 4 properties north of me and 3 properties south of me that have lakefront construction. And I wanted to let you know that I wanted to know what our rights were as a village, not as a citizen, for the lakefront. So I called a gentleman that's the head of the IDNR Water Resources. His name is Jim Casey. I had a 2.5-hour call with him, and he told me that the Village of Winnetka has final jurisdiction and authority over anything happening 3 miles out into the lake that affects the health and welfare of their community. It is part of the State of Illinois Code granted to municipalities. He said other surrounding communities such as Highland Park and Evanston and other towns along Lake Michigan are actively using it, so it is Winnetka's decision to choose whether they want to. It is my understanding that the attorney for Winnetka also represents Highland Park, and I wondered if this information could be shared with our village. It appears as if Winnetka is the only shoreline community not using these powers to oversee what's happening on the lake, and I kayak almost every day in the summer. And I believe our lakefront looks like the wild, wild west in comparison to what I've seen in other neighborhoods. To give you an example, I gave our park district commissioners, as many as would come, a ride to see what's going on in the lakefront. I also wanted you to know that Kenilworth and Glencoe, our 2 closest neighbors, have ordinances on the books for the lakes that represent that people cannot have any sort of a boat ramp within 200 feet of a swimming beach, which I believe with the number of beaches that we have on the lakefront with Tower, Maple, and Elder and Centennial, 4 beaches, we need to be aware of that, and it has been enforced in Kenilworth on 2 occasions. Because of the, I didn't know what the rules were. So you'd think after all this time of 30 years working with the village, I would know what the rules were. But I would encourage you to have Jim Casey, who is the head of Water Resources, talk to you all and understand exactly what your rights are. You have the right to go 3 miles out for health and safety given by the state. Because we don't have anyone in Winnetka that's dedicated to lakefront properties, I'm encouraging you to get someone that has an expertise and understanding, because it is very tricky. And you need to keep an eye on all of these things that are happening because they're there forever. And so I'm asking you to get an employee that understands the ramifications of this. And we deserve a thorough review of all lakefront properties. And I suggest that until you understand what the rules are, that you delay and understand what you can and cannot do. And I appreciate your time. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Katie. Just for public consumption at this point, yes, there's a lot of things that we as a council or we as a village do not know about lakefront ordinances at this point. And we're expecting to have a study session on that particular issue in one of the, either January, February, depending on where we can fit it in. And certainly we'll be inviting Mr. Casey to address us and speak on those sort of issues, as well as start researching various consultants who can also help us get a little bit smarter on the issue. So thanks, Katie. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I will close public.
Chris,
One more.
Oh, come on up. I'm sorry.
Hi, I apologize, we're late. And if I'm redundant, obviously I missed what
Oh,
was
wait.
said.
If you're late,
Okay,
this is public comment for items that are not on the agenda. So if you're here to talk about the lakefront and the 290 Sheridan Road Plat consolidation, that'll come later in the evening. If you wanted to talk to me about the new car wash I'm going to build down the street, that's a whole
that's
different
for
story.
now. Okay, so, but I was following what Katie was saying, so.
Oh.
Those things,
About the lake in general and the village rights.
This isn't about the specific item yet.
okay, then I'm gonna sit down, but is there more
Oh, yeah.
public comment later?
Yep, on each item we have public comment as well. Thank you. Anybody else? Now, seeing none, I'll close public comment and we'll move forward. Item 5 is report. Trustees, we'll start with Trustee Dearborn.
No report, Chris.
Kim?
no report.
Andy?
No report.
Rob?
Just that kudos to the village and park district teams working together for the lighting ceremony. Looked like everything went off without a hitch. You could actually hear this year, and a little bit better lighting, and it's great to see all Winnetka coming together and all those kids. It's really, really nice to see. So great job by the park district and the village council together. Thanks.
Village Attorney?
No report tonight.
Village Manager?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Village President, I had a report, but Trustee Apatow gave it, so we'll move forward.
And you did a great countdown, by the way.
It was a wonderful event, and the amount of families and senior citizens alike, it was just a beautiful, beautiful picture of the entire community out there, just enjoying each other's company and really having a lot of fun on a Friday night. So I think mission accomplished, and the tree is beautiful. Thank you to the Park District, the Chamber, and village staff who worked on this, and we're just looking to bigger and better again next year. So, all right, so we'll move forward. Item 6, approval of the agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove an item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We'll move forward. I will ask the village clerk to read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Approval of the village council minutes for October 28, 2022, budget review meeting, November 15th, 2022, regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated November 11th, 2022 through November 24th in the amount of $7,913,899.04. Ordinance number MC01, 2022, update unincorporated areas fire service fee. Ordinance number MC03, 2022, liquor code update, property tax levy and abatement ordinances. Ordinance number M15, 2022, the 2022 tax levy for adoption. Ordinance number M16, 2022 tax abatement GO refunding bonds, Series 2020. Resolution number R112, 2022, purchase of 2 dump trucks. Adoption of the fiscal year 2023 village budget. Includes resolution number R115, 2022, the village budget. Resolution number R116, 2022, general fees. And resolution number R117, 2022, utility rates and fees. Resolution number R118, 2022, annual GIS service provider for agreement for adoption. Resolution number R119, 2022, approving a contract with Okanite Company for the purchase of 15 kV underground cable. Resolution number R120, 2022, approving a contract with Wesco Distribution Incorporated for the purchase of 600-volt underground cable. Resolution number R121, 2022, approving a contract with Core and Main LP for the purchase of water meters. Resolution number R122, 2022, landfill monitoring wells change order. Resolution number R123, approving an outdoor dining agreement with Hometown Coffee. Resolution number R124, 2022, prescient contract renewal. Resolution number R125, 2022, purchase of a leaf vacuum machine for Public Works. Resolution number R126, 2022, certificate of appropriateness for 93 Green Bay Road site improvements. And resolution number R130, 2022, approving a change order number 1 to the contract with the Progress Group for services related to the repair of unit number 4 rotor and generator.
Now you all know why I have Rob read the consent agenda.
You need some water?
We'd be here for a half an hour if I was reading it, so. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Yes.
Okay. Without objection, I would like to move consideration of resolution number R127, 2022 to the end of the agenda after closed session. So we're going to reorder. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Bob?
Yes.
Okay. All right, item 8 is ordinances and resolution. The first item is resolution number R128, 2022, tree removal contract, Hibbard Stormwater Project. As part of the Hibbard Stormwater Project, staff must ensure that only trees impacted as part of the proposed improvements are removed. Engineering Director Jim Bernal is here to introduce. Hey, Jim.
Good evening. Thank you, President Rentz. Good evening, Council. So as part of the proposed stormwater master plan, the village will soon be undertaking a new phase as part of that project, and this is the beginning of the Hibbard Preserve Wetland Project. Similar in nature to the North of Willow project, this new phase will focus on mass earthwork, making connections from the underground storage vault system to the Cook County Forest Preserve property, wetland improvements, and installing conveyance to the southeast quadrant for those conveyance projects as well. A key component to the Hibbard Preserve project is the removal of the designated trees prior to the commencement of the mass earthwork that's going to be taking place. The contract before you this evening focuses on the work activities only for the proposed removal of the designated trees, the tree perimeter layout, and the tree perimeter fencing. The key reason for bidding the tree removal work first was related to the initiation of a new U.S. Fish and Wildlife regulation. This new regulation is scheduled to go into effect January 1st, and it sets restrictions on tree removals activities related to the northern ear bat. Although the proposed tree removal work is not in violation of this regulation, anything that we're doing, any work performed after January 1st would require regulatory restrictions on specific times of the year when tree removal could be performed. As council is aware, extensive time and coordination for permitting has been undertaken with the various regulatory agencies, and this new requirement would have potentially added additional time and cost to the increase of the project for the Hibbert Preserve. So to ensure that the work could continue as planned, the village released a request for bid in early November. The bids were opened and read publicly aloud here at the council on November 3rd. One bid was received for that contract, and this was from Homer Tree Services. To put in perspective, Homer Tree Services is the contractor that is doing the work for the North of Willow Road project, and is currently, to date, has done all the tree removal and has done a good job here for the village. The proposed bid amount that was received was more than what staff had originally anticipated. So to better understand the bid details and given the short time frame to begin removing the trees, staff began discussions with the single bidder, Homer Trees. Those discussions brought to light specific concerns and unfamiliarity with certain types of work activities that were required of the general contractor in that bidding document. And this included specifically the installation of a perimeter fence that went around, and then also the construction of the access points to the Hibbert Preserve site. It was determined that these were the leading factors that greatly increased the price that they weren't anticipating on. So with this in mind, staff held discussions with DeMayo Brothers, and DeMayo Brothers is the contractor that is doing the work north of Willow as part of the underground North of Willow storage project. The reasoning is that the work activities that were concerning for Homer were work activities that DeMayo had done as part of that project already. So we wanted to take advantage of the experience and the fact that we had bidding from them in the past. So by negotiating in good faith with both vendors, staff was able to ensure that the proposed tree removal work could be completed by the end of the year. And by allowing the contractors to focus on their areas of familiarity, the village was able to reduce the overall project from what we anticipated by approximately $25,000, so it was an overall benefit to us. Staff believes that Homer Trees have the experience and the capabilities to get the work completed and within the time frame that we anticipated and continue to meet the village's expectation as it relates to the work activities. For this reason, staff is recommending for your consideration this evening the adoption of Resolution R-128, 2022, and this would be approving a contract with Homer Tree Services, Inc., to complete the tree removal work as part of the proposed Hibbert Preserve wetland project for an amount not to exceed $232,440. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you got.
Any questions for Jim?
It's a lot of trees.
Sure is. A lot less water in people's basement.
I know.
No questions for Jim? Public comment. Does anybody like to share their thoughts on this item? Hearing none, we'll bring it back up. All I can say is if you guys get the chance at some point, and I know we all love trees, Karen,
I know.
but you should really go out and just watch for an afternoon, because the equipment that Homer Tree Service uses is amazing. I mean, watching them just work through the golf course and taking trees of this size diameter and knocking them down, and just amazing work. And it's pretty impressive, and they do a really, really nice job, and I think Jim did the right thing by sitting down and negotiating and making sure we can at least make the budget on it. So, okay. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R-128, 2022?
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item C is resolution number R-129, 2022, approving a change order. Again, this is related to what Jim just talked about, DeMayo contract tree removal. As part of the Hibbert Stormwater project, staff has negotiated a contract with DeMayo Brothers for the installation of perimeter fencing and construction access. Take it away, Jim.
Yep. As President Rynch just said, this is a continuation of that what I was just speaking about previously. So we were able to, in good faith, have a negotiation with the Mayo Mothers to perform those work activities. They have performed those for us in the past. I would note that the proposed perimeter fencing, which is required as part of our agreement between the village and the Cook County Forest Preserve, will be installed prior to Homer trees going out to the site. So this will provide that perimeter and that screening similar to what you see on Hibbard and Willow Road. Now, this fencing will remain throughout the duration of the Hibbard Preserve project. So once it's installed, it'll stay there, even if it's a separate contractor that's awarded the Hibbard Preserve project, which we'll be going out to bid soon for. Again, DeMayo has the experience to do this. They are on site. There is a cost savings for us. And based on the timeliness, it makes sense to approve the change order. And this change order would be a change order to the North of Willow project in preparation for the Hibbard Preserve project. So because staff is confident that DeMayo can do these two activities, we're recommending that the council consider adopting resolution R129 2022. And this is approving a change order as part of the North of Willow Road contract for the installation of perimeter fencing and the construction entrances as part of the Hibbard Preserve project for a total cost not to exceed of $165,000.
Thanks, Jim. Questions for Jim?
Great work in finding a
It's
solution.
pretty straightforward.
Awesome. Okay, would anybody in the audience like to speak on this item? Seeing none, any last questions, comments? Good to go? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt resolution number R127, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Handler.
Yes.
Trustee Kripe.
Yes.
Trustee Apatow.
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn.
Yes.
That motion carries, thank you. Okay. Bear with me, folks, I haven't been around for the last month, so I'm kind of getting back in the groove on some of this stuff. Okay, now we're moving forward on item 8A, resolution number R127, 2022, 195 and 203 to 209 Sheridan Road, plat of consolidation. This is up for adoption. Council is consider approving a final plat of consolidation submitted by the applicant, consolidating the existing lots into a single lot of record. Just so everybody in the room understands, what's going to happen is David is going to come up and provide us with some initial comments and information. We're going to go ahead and let the applicant go ahead and provide us with a brief presentation. We'll then go ahead and ask for public comment, after which we will then adjourn into executive session. We will spend a little time in executive session, and then we will come back out and complete whatever deliberations we have on this particular item. So that's kind of the way the rest of the evening's going to go. So David, if you want to go ahead and take it away, that'd be great.
Yes, thank you, President Rintz and trustees. This evening, the Village Council is scheduled to consider a resolution approving a plat of consolidation for the subject property consisting of 4 lots. I will briefly review information regarding the subject property, the plat of consolidation before you. And the Plan Commission's review and recommendation. The subject property is located on the east side of Sheridan Road between Winnetka Avenue and Fuller Lane. It consists of 4 buildable lots ranging from a ½ acre to a little over 1 acre. 3 of the lots each contain an existing single-family residence, and the 4th lot, 209 Sheridan, is a vacant lot. The subject property is located within the R2 single-family residential zoning district and is bordered by the same to the north and the south. The R2 district calls for larger lots, a minimum of 24,000 square feet. This designation of R2 zoning extends the entire lakefront within the village corporate limits. And then the lots on the west side in this area have been laid out at smaller size and are zoned R4 single-family residential. The applicant requests approval to consolidate the 4 existing lots into one lot of record that would measure 3.7 acres. Plans for the proposed improvements have not been submitted yet. However, the applicant has indicated that they intend to demolish the 3 existing residences and construct 1 new single-family residence. In terms of the formatting and details on the plat itself, the applicant has provided a 5-foot utility easement provided along the entire west property line along Sheridan Road as required by the Village Water and Electric Department. There are no other easements for the village on the plat, and the plat contains all the necessary signature blocks for signing after, should the council approve the plat, and they will be signed before we would record the plat. As indicated in the staff report, the proposed consolidation complies with the zoning ordinance and the subdivision code. The zoning code requires all newly created lots comply with a minimum standards such as minimum lot area, minimum lot width, and minimum lot depth. The zoning ordinance does not have maximum limitations regarding these items. The proposed lot complies with the zoning standards. Additionally, the proposed subdivision complies with the comprehensive plan as the land use map designates the property as appropriate for single-family residential development, which is the proposed use for this property. I would just note that 3 of the existing lots are non-conforming. 209 Sheridan, which is the vacant lot, is non-conforming with respect to minimum required lot area and lot depth. And the existing lots at 195 and 203 Sheridan are non-conforming in terms of minimum required lot width. These tables that were included in the Plan Commission report indicate the minimum requirements and maximum limitations in the R2 zoning district. What is built on the subject property will need to comply with these requirements, and the column labeled proposed consolidated lot identifies what those are. This also identifies existing nonconformities on the existing lots, which there are 2, and they relate to side yard setbacks. I would just note the Landmark Preservation Commission has considered the demolition permit applications for each of these 3 homes, and in the end, the commission approved demolition without delay. Oops. The Plan Commission considered this application at its October 26th meeting. The commission received 1 written comment and 1 verbal comment. Both of them were in support. After reviewing the application, the commission found that the plat of consolidation was in compliance and recommended approval by a vote of 6-0. With that, I'd be happy to answer questions now or later, President Rintz, if you'd like.
I think we can hold questions until afterwards. Oh, I'm sorry. We can hold questions until afterwards, David. All right, well, I'll ask the applicant to come on up and provide us with some more information.
Could I ask you to just take the computer
Take it
away,
away.
because I'm going to have my own.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
This is the first evening that we've had this new technology package here in Village Hall, so
Well, we
when you plug
appreciate
that thing in, it's all on you, okay?
Understood, and thank you.
Did it work?
He's got to load his program.
He's got to boot up.
Good evening. My name is Adam Hoflick, and I appreciate your having me here this evening. And I especially appreciate Mr. Schoen's presentation concerning the Planning Commission's 6-0 approval of the request for consolidation of these lots. At issue tonight is the sole issue of the consolidation of a small group of plots on Sheridan Road on Lake Michigan. The consolidation complies with all existing ordinances, and the application is both appropriate and complete. There is nothing that remains to be submitted to the council. We understand that for unknown reasons, there are certain people who are predisposed to vote against this consolidation. That is something, as we understand it, that the council has not done in at least 5 years. There is not one consolidation of lots along the lakefront that's been unanimously approved by the Planning Commission that you have rejected. And there is no lawful basis to do that here. We understand that there are people in the community who have objected to the exchange plan, but the exchange agreement is not before you tonight, nor is the issue of whether anybody objects or does not want the people who have bought this land to move to Winnetka. The sole
Hold
question...
on right there.
Yeah.
We aren't going there, okay? First you come in here and you tell us that people are predisposed to their votes when everybody in this council chamber does their hardest to come in, listen to the testimony, and cast their vote based on what they hear in this room.
Well,
And secondly, characterizing where you were going with your next statement is unacceptable. Please stay to the facts, tell us what you want to do, tell us how you want to do it, and give us that outline. But I'm not going to have you sit here and make comments about members of this council and how they may or may not vote. You're not a mind reader, neither am I. That's enough.
And President Rince, you had asked the
That's enough.
applicant to come forward. Is this the applicant?
Yes,
who
it's
did not introduce-
no,
Okay,
Kim,
it's his
no.
representative, okay.
Proceed. Yes, he does, because it's a presentation, Katie.
Denial of this
forward.
consolidation would be unprecedented, and unlawful. First, Illinois law requires that when an applicant complies with applicable ordinances, the village must approve a plat of re-subdivision. Failure to grant an application that meets all of the requirements and complies with the ordinances is grounds for mandamus. That is what Illinois courts have done when villages have refused to grant such requests. Let's start with the lots at issue. Here, and this is on the screen above you, we have on top the existing lots, and then below it we have the proposed 205 Sheridan subdivision plat. What's at issue is whether to remove the lines between the different lots. that will make up the new subdivision. What's not at issue is where the property lines are. That is not before the commission. If someone wants to come to you and tell you that the plat was redrawn, even though that the survey was improperly done, even though the plat is complete and has been certified, that's not an issue before the council tonight. And that holding might work in a classroom, but it does not comply with the law, and it does not have anything to do with what this council's obligations are. And that is to determine, will the new lot meet the subdivision standards? Will it conform to the comprehensive plan? And will it eliminate subdivision nonconformities? The Planning Commission considered all of this, and they considered it carefully. Ms. Kay said that it was a straightforward request and a beautiful new place for a home. Mr. Bradley noted that it eliminates nonconformities and meets subdivision standards and is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Every single member of the Planning Commission, including Ms. Kunkel, who wrote in to explain that the application was appropriate and that approval was also the right thing to do, was in favor. The only neighbor to submit comment, Mr. and Mrs. Santee, who are esteemed members of the Winnetka community, wrote in favor of the consolidation of the plots, and the vote was unanimous. That should be the end of the story. You received an email this weekend that compares where the water's edge was in 1999 to where the water's edge was at the time of the surveys. That's interesting, but there's a reason that no one has ever made that argument to this council before. And that's because both the Illinois Supreme Court and your ordinances have already considered it and rejected it. In 1917, the Illinois Supreme Court in Brundage versus Knox decided this issue and said that property owner's land extends to the water's edge. Your ordinances, and I'll put one up, are equally clear. Front lot line. For lots abutting Lake Michigan, the water's edge of the lake shall be deemed a front lot line. We do not go back to 1999, 1989, not 1979. We look at what the licensed surveyor does, and where the licensed surveyor puts the water line is where the lot ends. This is a decided issue. It is not a reason to reject the application. It is not a reason to delay a vote. And frankly, it is not something that should require anything more than your consideration and rejection. And I'm glad that the village attorney is here tonight, because he too knows what the holding of Brundage versus Knox is, and that the law is very clear that there's no ground to reject this application based on where the water line is or where the lot stands. The same is true of other ordinances. Chapter 1704, 030, L.3 also states as used in this title, lot or zoning lot, shall not include any part of a plotted lot that lies beyond the water edge of Lake Michigan. Chapter 1704-030 L4 defines lot area and states, as used in this title, lot area shall not include any part of a platted lot that lies beyond the water's edge. It doesn't refer to what was ever true in the past. It refers to what was the case at the time of the survey. And at the time of this survey, the water's edge is exactly where it is reflected on the plat. And we have the licensed surveyor here today. Illinois law and your ordinances take into account this argument and reject it. I'd also note that the surveyor who's here tonight received a phone call from one of the people who sent you an email threatening to have his license taken away because of his support for this consolidation. That's not what we should be doing to each other as neighbors. It's not what we should be doing to people who want to move into our community. It's not who we are or who we want to be. That shouldn't happen just because someone properly completed a survey and because somebody new wants to move into Winnetka and build a home for their family. The ordinances require final approval within 60 days from the date of the Plan Commission approval. That period is coming up. Everything is complete. There is nothing remaining for the council to receive. We have here a class of one. Orchard 2020 and the Ishbia family want to move to Winnetka. They have complied with all of your requirements. They want to raise their children here, and whether or not you vote on this tonight affects when their children will be able to enroll in school. The Planning Commission voted. It was unanimous. You have approved similar consolidations along the lakefront. You have never rejected a consolidation based on the argument that's being made tonight and that was in those letters. And there is not one example of any consolidation ever being rejected on that basis in this village or any other to our knowledge. We understand that there's been a lot of noise and confusion about the property exchange agreement. And we understand that there's been discussion and opposal to almost anything involved with this family's moving to Winnetka. That's unfortunate. And we understand that people have different views on change and different views on who moves into their community. But the Ishbia family are good people who want to come here and raise their children here. They have complied with all requirements for submitting an application, and they have complied with all ordinances exactly how the Planning Commission wanted them to do, and they were approved 6-0. Tonight, all we're asking is that you follow precedent and that you approve an application that complies with all of your requirements and every single one of your ordinances. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Bernstein, who's with me tonight, for any final comments on behalf of the applicant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. My name is Cal Bernstein. My address is 484 Central Avenue in Highland Park. I'm one of the attorneys for the applicant here this evening. I'm not going to expand much on what my colleague has presented. We do have the surveyor here, and I like to bring the surveyor because I know there's some questions about how that's the veracity of the survey, so I think we're going to bring him up. After that, I think I'll have to say a couple more remarks, and since it appears, we had a record at the Plan Commission, which you've received, you reviewed the minutes. It appears that since the Plan Commission, there has been certain additional information, like the emails that were received over the weekend that were submitted to the village. We would request that the president allow us to, after public comments, at least give it an opportunity to reply that anything may come, because again, the Plan Commission, we had one person there. That person was in support. We didn't have any up until this weekend. We had no idea that there'd be any possible objection to this this proposal. So we just request it leave just basically at the end, that if we decide to respond, that we get that ability.
I will have to make that determination
Thank you.
when the issues come up.
Thank you. Surveyor. There he is. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jack Buck. I'm the surveyor. I've been doing surveying for over 30 years. Been licensed since 2004, which requires four-year college education. You do a surveyor and training, apply for that exam, and then you work under a land surveyor for 4 years, and then you apply for your professional license. So, in my career, I've done approximately 50 surveys along the Lake Michigan, which all of them butt up, adjoin Lake Michigan, and the east line is Lake Michigan's water's edge. So, in Illinois, the water's edge on navigable water is the line. I signed a survey submitted with the Plat, or the Plat of consolidation on July 14th, 2022. And on that survey, I had located the water's edge at that time. And then I did an additional survey on the south property on July 8th, 2020, or do I have those? I did the northern portion first. I did the three lots to the north first, and that was on July 8th, 2020. I located the water's edge and I noted it on the plat. And then I did the other parcel on the south, July 28th, 2022, and I located the water's edge on that date and noted it on the plat. And when I so the water's edge, and even though they're 2 years apart, in my opinion, it wasn't significant enough to relocate them. And that line changes anyway. The eastern line is going to change week to week, day to day, month to month, year to year. So what I showed on the plat is my measurements on that date. I'm not saying that's fixed line, that is the line on that date. It'll be changing over time. And everything I did was within the state law. So that, I guess I'm done.
While you're up there.
Thank you.
Any questions? You guys have any questions for the surveyor?
No, just thank you for coming and standing up and speaking to it. We appreciate it. And,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, so thank you.
Any questions?
Not yet.
Nope.
So
Go
just to
ahead,
wrap
Gail.
this up, I have 8 pages here, but I think you're tired of hearing from lawyers. So I think what I'm going to do is just read the one paragraph that the neighbor to the south wrote, because I really think that really captures the nature of this application. Now, it's in your packet. I know you've seen it and you've probably read it, but and they're better writers than I am, so I just want to read this, and please indulge me, let me read this one paragraph. We are the homeowners of 191 Sheridan Road, immediately south of 195. We are in favor of this application. We are very pleased that someone, other than a builder, who might buy up Winnetka houses only to build cookie-cutter houses to replace our variety of architecture, values carrying on the tradition of this area of being significant architecture surrounded by beautiful green space, which this strip of Sheridan Road was historically so developed. We understand over the years the need to sell off front yards, but has somewhat resulted in houses appearing to be packed in. These consolidated properties will allow some breathing room, more green space for our neighborhood as we pay homage to the grand, beautiful feel for which this part of our lovely town and Sheridan Road was founded. Frankly, we are thrilled someone wants to put so much toward creating this space for family rather than what is happening to so many of our beautiful homes, which are being purchased by builders just to make a profit. These 4 properties are being saved from just that happening. Thank you for considering our testimony, Scott and Nancy Santy. Thank you.
Thanks. Justin, you want to share any thoughts with us, or you're going to hang loose for now? No. Yeah, you're the applicant, so you can join us now, or.
I have someone more important for Steve.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm just really nervous. My name is Kristen Ishbia. I'm the wife of Justin, and together we are the co-owners of the plots that are applying for consolidation. This is my first time attending a public meeting regarding our home. I'm nervous about revealing my face because that makes me a public presence. I value our privacy, and it's not easy for me to come out in a public way like this. I worry that putting out my identity puts my children's privacy at risk. You see, everything that I do is to love them and protect them. And loving them is what brings me here in front of you tonight. I want to start with the fact that I know in my heart that each of you possess goodness and kindness. I just want you to know the depths of the repercussions of your decision in regards to our family. We have 3 children, our eldest being 3.5, and our youngest being 5 months old. When we first bought property here in Winnetka in the summer of 2020, we thought that we would be able to send our son to kindergarten here. Unfortunately, as time passes by, we are unable to build our home. Our children are missing out on being able to attend school here, play in our yard, and make friends in the neighborhood. They are missing out on being able to live our dream of a quiet, authentic suburban life. I know that you have assumptions about the type of people that we are. I just want to give my children a safe and loving place to grow up. You see, because it's not about money or land or power or who has it or who doesn't. It's about us wanting to raise our kids in a community and feeling like there's a concerted effort to prevent that from happening because of personal bias. I am here in person to let you know how deeply it saddens me that my family is used as political pawns. I thought that if I gave you a chance to really see who I am, that you might see the goodness and kindness in me too. I am asking you tonight to please vote to consolidate our plats so that we can bring our beautiful children to live here. I am thankful for your time and consideration, and I hope that you will find the kindness in your hearts to truly listen to my appeal. Thank you. And
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm a really bad public speaker.
You're better than your lawyer.
You did just fine, thank you.
I have nothing to add to that.
Cal, is that it? Okay. All right. Now that we've heard from the applicant, are there any questions generally that you have of members of the applying party? No?
Not yet.
All right, we'll move forward and ask for public comment now from the audience. We'll start in the front and work our way back, so anybody in the second row here, you're welcome to come up to the...
Can I speak first, please?
No, Ted, we're starting in the first row.
I was mentioned by the attorney.
Ted, we're starting in the first row. Come on up. Now you can come up and talk.
I'm fine. First of all, to the Ishbias, I live across the street from you, welcome you as neighbors. None of this is personal. So please, Kristen, don't feel that this is personal. I realize, I'm sorry I came in late, so I don't know how you described who should say what and when. So I'm really here tonight as a footnote to the letters that I had submitted to you earlier. My name is Judy Rao. We're at 209 Fuller Lane, directly across from the south end of Centennial and 205 Sheridan Road. Last, in the email that I sent you earlier with the letter, I'm not going to belabor the points raised, but what I was responding to was concerns about the waterfront plan. And the 2 points that were of concern to me was the lack of public access and the massive scale of the structures and accompanying potential negative on the beachfronts of properties of 205 Sheridan. I am not here to talk about the Plat. I didn't realize that that was the specific charge of the evening. My husband and I have been following these developments with keen interest as we have a ringside seat on any and all developments going on across the street. At stake for us are the uninterrupted views that we currently enjoy. We paid a premium for our small house to attain these views, trusting that purchasing a house across from a public park was a good investment. Recent history is teaching us that even public parks and the vistas and recreation they afford can be purchased for private use, which we believe is fundamentally wrong. We have attended several of your meetings in the last few months and admire the Village Board's thorough and respectful debate of key issues facing Winnetka. As you may recall, we have also requested you intercede in the ongoing debate about aspects of the Elder Centennial Plan, very much wishing that the village had the authority to do so. Based on what I have learned this week, and I must have missed what Katie shared in that regard, it would appear that in point of fact, you do have that authority. As I've been researching how other communities on the North Shore have navigated both the application of the public trust doctrine and the hierarchical relationship between various taxing bodies, I've been impressed by and envious of the clarity of both the policy and implementation demonstrated by the lakefront coastal zoning ordinances in Kenilworth, Glencoe, Evanston, and Highland Park. I have recently learned that the rules under which these communities are operating are available to Winnetka as well. If other North Shore villages have jurisdictional oversight 3 miles into the lake, I hope you will find a way to provide the same oversight that is so desperately needed for both the plan at 205 Sheridan and the Park District's Elder Centennial. Respectfully, Judy Rao.
Thank you, Judy.
And I have a copy.
Okay, we'll move over to this side. Second row. Anybody in the second row on this side? Nothing? Third row. Kristen, we already heard from you. Come on up.
My name is Jenny Moorhead. I'm a mother of 3. I've been a resident in Winnetka for almost 10 years. My husband Brad is here. I'm sitting next to Justin Ishbia's best friend from growing up in 2nd grade, who is also a Winnetka resident. I'm sitting next to the wife of Justin's partner from 2010 on. My husband and I hosted Justin and Kristen when she was pregnant with her 2nd child at our home, because we've known Justin for over 10 years and we've known Kristen since they started dating. We hosted them at our home, had them over for dinner because we were so excited about them moving to Winnetka, the potential of them moving to Winnetka. We have 3 boys. We couldn't wait for our kids to play with their kids. And I am so sad at what Kristen had to do tonight. I am so sad that this village has not welcomed the Ishbias with their whole heart. And I completely appreciate the fact that you put in your time here every week or month, I don't even know, to make our village go around. And I appreciate it so much. And I know there's a lot of political wrangling and there's a lot that goes into what happens here and makes this such a good village to live in. But it's amazing that we have someone who wants to stay in Illinois. It's amazing that we have someone who wants to pay these taxes and live in our city that is very, very challenged right now. And this is such a beautiful village. This is our adopted hometown. My husband and I don't come from here. I went to Northwestern. I went to Kellogg. I'm a business owner that runs a business out of my home that's also located in Atlanta. And a lot of people tell me all the time, why don't you move to Georgia? And we stay in Illinois and we stay in Chicago and we stay in Winnetka because of my husband's work with Shore Capital, because of his friendship with Justin, because of what we believe in this community. And there was a reason that I interrupted a ton of carpools and a ton of everything going on with young kids tonight, because I so passionately believe in the Ishbias being so warmly welcomed. And I know that there is a lot that goes into this, and there's just so much generosity that I wish that you could see that lives behind what these papers show. And it's generosity toward our park district. It's generosity. I was sitting in the ice rink 2 days ago saying, oh, I recently had lunch with Kristen downtown. And someone said, I chaired the House in the Woods Gala, and the Ishbias gave so generously. And I need to send them a note because they appreciated it so much. And there's so much that goes unwritten by what they do and the generosity that they contribute to our community. And we should be welcoming them with open arms. I didn't see those houses being sold out from under us, right? They were sitting unsold. And so we should be welcoming people who want to contribute to our community. And these are people who will contribute in the most positive way to our community. And I wanted to say that. I feel very passionate about this. And again, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row? Come on up.
Hi, my name's Chase Toomey. I'm a 10-year Winnetka resident. It's really hard to follow those folks. I have known Justin for since 2nd grade, so almost 40 years, and we're really excited also to have them here to join the Winnetka community. I have 2 small kids. They take part in tree lighting and all the park district stuff. We're proud Crow Island and Skokie school participants. We're really excited that Justin and his family are going to be part of that school district, our school district also. You guys are, the committee is reviewing what seems to me is pretty clear cut, right? We have zoning has been unanimously approved. It sounds like some folks have some issues with how zoning works. I'm not familiar with all of this stuff, but it seems like this family's followed the rules, and if the rules need to change, like maybe they do in the future, but at this point, they follow the rules. To support kind of what's been said already, there's the majority of the homes and lots that they purchased are basically unoccupied for the last, at least 10 years, I'm guessing. And so now we're going to have kids, right, and families running around in that yard. So to me, that's pretty exciting. I'm also pretty biased, but I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, jumping across the other side. Third row. Nobody over there. Back on this side, fourth row. Chuck?
I'm Chuck Dowding. I live at 968 Elm Street. I submitted some materials to the council over the weekend. I don't know how many of you have a chance to look at the visuals of that, because this discussion I'm about to have is visual, and it's difficult for me to do this without the visual aids that other people had. So
you only have a few minutes, Chuck.
Right. So first of all, I'd like to say I am in favor of the consolidation. That's not why I'm here. I do not quibble with the surveyor's designation of where the water's edge. That's not why I'm here either. My concern is that the plat of survey included in the application does not match that of the plat of surveyor that's on record in Cook County GIS, and I'm confused by that. To me, that shows that there's a difference, and there's a difference for two reasons here. The first reason is that these plats include state land, which is not owned, according to the plat of survey in Cook County, by either the person from whom 2020 Orchard purchased the land or when 2020 purchased the land. And the second reason is that it doesn't match the plat of survey in the Cook County GIS system. And I'm sure the folks here can see that just as well as I did. I'd like to read from you the quote from the State of Illinois Coastal Management Program, which states, "Case law does not grant private ownership to any beach area resulting from the entrapment or retention of sand caused by construction of any type of shore structure. Because of the long history of constructing numerous private groynes along North Shore, there are many such areas of accreted beach. However, any beach area that is artificially accreted beach is legally public." So air photos will show the amount of accretion that has occurred over the years. And I think those of you who wish to look at that, you may from Google Earth presentations. Secondly, another attached PDF that I sent shows that there are two plats of survey records that are available on the internet. Both of them agree, so I don't think it's a disagreement as to what the plat of survey is in Cook County. It is also clear then, if those are plats of survey, that not all surveyors put the water's edge when legal land is transferred. At least it doesn't appear to be that, from my opinion. So my concern is that Winnetka should not inadvertently become part of an inaccurate property conveyance. I think that the property should be defined as the plats of survey in Cook County, so that the sanctity of state land can be preserved and the distinction between that which is owned and that which is state land can be maintained. And again, let me close by saying I welcome the Ishbias to this community. I'm glad they're here, and I'm glad that they wish to consolidate property and build a beautiful home, and glad to have you here. Just like to be able to walk along the beach and shake your hand sometime. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
Okay, same row. Come on up.
Hello. Thanks to the council. I'm Brad Moorhead, Jenny's husband. I'm a Winnetka resident for about 9 years, and maybe I should have moved to a seat farther back, but I sat where I sat. So wanted to just say a few things. Obviously, I've known the Ishbias for about 10 years, as you heard from Jenny or so, and they've just been wonderful, wonderful people. When I heard that they were thinking about moving to Winnetka, I was incredibly excited about it. As I learned about the hearing to the council meeting tonight, I then started to research it a little bit more. I frankly got a little more and more confused, right? I learned that it was approved unanimously 6-0, like we've talked about. I've learned it actually solves a few problems. And so for me, this became a question of property rights. What happens if something's approved as a landowner in Winnetka and you're approved by the committee 6-0? You're actually solving a couple issues with existing parcels. And then you have a council that denies a relatively, I think, routine request for this. As a landowner here in Winnetka, it made me wonder, well, then what happens to the next group that moves up here? What happens to the next person that comes on who maybe doesn't have Justin's resources? And so when all of the things are lined up, when you look at all the things, when you hear from all the experts, and everything shows that this should be approved, rubber stamp, done, I think, from my layman's perspective, I began to get concerned about just property rights. Right? Is it the ill will we've heard about or seen in other meetings, right? Not the council meeting, maybe the park district meeting. Is it some animus that we don't know about? Is it some neighbors that maybe don't like that things are changing for them, even though that it's completely within me as a property owner within Winnetka to do it based on the village code? So if you're willing to delay or deny someone who's such a great person like Justin, who I've known forever, if you're willing to delay or deny someone like him with the resources he has available, what precedent does that set? What does that say about Winnetka when someone without those resources comes up here? When someone follows all the rules, what happens when somebody doesn't have the resources Justin has and to be able to defend it, to be able to tell his story? And I fear that if we start to play willy-nilly with property rights, it does not send the message that we want about Winnetka. It does not send the message that we want about our freedoms and our personal liberties and our ability to own property here. So I hope that you will look at the facts of the case, because there is no rational argument here that's been presented that seems to indicate there's anything to do but approve this. So I hope that you'll do that and welcome them here with me as new neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm kind of losing track of the rows. We're jumping over. Is there anybody in that next row over there? Now you can come up, Ted.
Hi, Ted Winnichenko. I have to admit that I was quite livid after the applicant's representative misstated.
Ted, we're not here to express anger. We're here to share our thoughts.
I have calmed down a little bit. So there are a couple things. So first, yes, I'm the one that called the surveyor, and I feel that my nature of my call was misrepresented. It's my decision. I'm a citizen. I can do what I want. But to mischaracterize it, and I asked the surveyor to call me, I should have realized, given the history of obfuscation in this process with the Park District, that my call would be taken out of context and conveyed in a negative manner. And I appreciate that they want to live here. We wanted to live here. That's why we rented a house when we couldn't afford to buy one, so we could move our children into the schools and start them at kindergarten. So there are options. We don't have to do this that way. And I had other comments to make, but unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity to sit up here and spout misinformation for 15 minutes. So I'm going to change my comments to address a lot of the misstatements that were made. So it is not entirely correct that shore law goes back to Brundage v. Knox. It actually goes back to Seaman v. Smith, which was, and I don't have this in my head because I didn't prepare for this. It goes back to like the 1860s, where the Supreme Court ruled that on Lake Michigan, because they felt that it wasn't a sea, that they would use the at the time water line. However, that was based on the fact that the lake didn't have currents or appreciable tide. And we know that both of those things are, well, one of them is at least not true. The lake clearly has a current. And that's why the shoreline changes, and that's why the dunes are created, and that's why people build groins out into the lake. And those groins end up causing accretions, and they cause accelerated avulsion of other land. And so the court in Brundage v. Knox specifically discussed this and talked about who owns accreted land. So the idea that the at the moment water line is the demarcation of private versus public land is false. It depends on where that land, why that land accreted, and where it was before. And in fact, at the property now, because of their own private structures. That beach has washed away. By Brundage, that land that they are trying to fill back in is now all public. They caused the loss of land. They are filling back in lake that has been reclaimed by the state that is not theirs. And I am troubled, and I have no problem with the consolidation, but I am troubled by their attempts to demarcate state land as private land. Why it wasn't done before, I don't know. Probably because surveyors then were less susceptible to arguments from attorneys. But it is troubling that they are trying to claim state land as their own when no one really knows, and the question is much more complex than what was suggested. And I have to say, my comments are out of, I don't even know if I wanted to finish what I wanted to say, but I was highly troubled, and clearly this council must approve this, because otherwise there is going to be a lawsuit filed saying that you did the wrong thing. I feel that that threat was repeated so often that it was not even subtle. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Other side? Come on up.
My name is Bob Rasmus. My wife and I own the property at 175 Sheridan Road, which is 3 houses directly to the south of the proposed property. And as such, we and our neighbors will be directly impacted by what is being considered. This isn't personal. This isn't trying to prevent anyone from moving to Winnetka, and I wish I could disabuse you of that notion and your advisors in that respect. What we're asking for is for you to table this proposal and engage in a deliberative process that considers all the facts, that considers everything as a whole and not just piecemeal which is a part of, and review all the information to verify their accuracy, their impact, and to ensure that what is being proposed is consistent with regulation and law. When you look at the overall proposals being submitted on the part of 2020 Orchard, it's extraordinarily difficult for the average person to comprehend, given the opacity, given the scale, the complexity, the incremental nature of the submissions. The average person makes it very difficult for them to comprehend and follow, and apparently even the village attorney, as well as the Winnetka Park District and various other village officials. And given the scope and scale of what's being proposed, what we're asking for is just say, what's the hurry? For over 40 years, the village has been derelict in its oversight of its lakefront jurisdiction. And what we're asking you to do is just look at this, take your time. It doesn't have to be approved this evening. Table this proposal, consider all the facts and information, verify their accuracy and potential impact, and look at everything, not just piecemeal, but as part of the whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Next. Come on up, Katie. I'm going to give you a fresh 3 minutes.
Tonight. So, Kristen, I want you to know that we welcome you into this community. And I have never, in the 2.5 years that this has been going on, and I'll look at Justin and I, ever has the conversation of personal bias come up. And I want to make that crystal clear. The facts are that you guys have had 2.5 years to make a decision on the park district and spent $1 million tax dollars, and you bought the park. We were going to buy the park and have a larger park, and that park, you
Katie,
won. You got it.
You're supposed to be addressing us.
I'm sorry.
That's
I wanted
okay.
to tell them they're welcome. However, they came in hot. They asked for a lot of things. Louvers, plants in the beach, high walls, high rocks, no access. All of that is against everything I stand for. And I'm telling you, I've worked with this village for 30 years, maybe 35. And I want you to know that there are some things that we're requesting. I would like to know why John Root was denied the stormwater plan. because we paid for it and we deserve access to that. And right now, the stormwater is being consolidated in one pipe from 3 lots on the north end of his property. And we deserve a right to see that plan. And we also deserve a right to tell you that it's right next to a swimming beach. And so I'm trying to understand, you have the right to go 3 miles into the lake, and health and safety is your bullet with Jim Casey. So if you could please, when this, is this on? Comes up, that you look at and allow us time to review. We deserve that now. And there's no reason not to let us see as far as you've come. Secondly, we want a coastal engineer. We want someone to look at, when this plan comes forth in the lake, what effect it has on property owners, views, and rights of us as the public when you buy next to a park. I'm sorry, if you buy next to a park, the only reason I got involved with this is I want views. That's it. That's all we want. And I want a good view without trees and plants and walls and blockages, and I want you to listen to that. And I'm very passionate, and I'm sorry. But I want the stormwater plan, I want a coastal engineer, and I want your help.
Thank you, Katie. Anybody else left in the room who wishes to speak? Come on up.
Good evening. Thank you very much for your time. I'm not sure if the microphone's working, but I hope people in the back can hear me.
It's working.
My name is Martin Sinclair, and I'm an attorney with Sperling and Slater. I represent Mr. Robert Schriesheim, who's a village resident here in Winnetka.
You're going to be speaking about the Plat consolidation, correct?
I am, absolutely.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
No, I'm not here about the land swap or anything else. Yeah, no, this is specifically about the Plat, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. It's a little bit duplicative of some of the comments that have been made earlier, but it has a kind of different angle, which is simply that Orchard 2020 does not own the beach adjacent to the properties at 195 through 209 Sheridan Road. Those beaches are public land. Any attempt by Orchard 2020 to claim ownership over those beaches, or by the Village of Winnetka to purport to convey to Orchard 2020 ownership of those beaches, is in violation of Illinois' public trust doctrine. And I know that people have spoken about that tonight. But by that doctrine, the submerged lands and historically submerged lands of Lake Michigan belong to the state of Illinois, and the state of Illinois holds that land in trust for the general public. I see heads nodding, so you're familiar with the concept, sorry. The beaches that are at issue to this proposed consolidated plat are the result, as was mentioned earlier, of the intentional construction of groins for the benefit of the prior owners of the property. And the permits for those groins are available to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. They were built by the owners of the property. And the public trust doctrine prohibits a private party from claiming ownership over beaches such as those that are created by the entrapment or retention or accretion, you've heard a number of terms tonight, of sand caused by groins that are built for the property's benefit. Now, if the owner of the property can build the groin, but they don't get to claim the land for their own under the Illinois Public Trust Doctrine, but yet they could somehow then sell their property, and a new surveyor could come along and say, this is the high water mark, this is the land for the new owner, it would eviscerate the practicality in the operation of the Public Trust Doctrine, because that seller would actually be getting the benefit of purporting to convey private property. And any beach that accretes from that, that's also the rest of the concept of Brundage v. Knox, which you've heard from 2 comments tonight. Any beach area that accretes as a result of that construction continues to be legally public beach, and that land is held in trust for the public. And this shouldn't be an issue of notice either, because deeds to portions of the property that are within this parcel that were recorded as little as 2 years ago note that the owner of the property, the deed to the land, states the property is subject to the rights of the United States of America, the state of Illinois, municipality, and the public, in and to so much of the land, if any, as may have been formed by means other than natural accretions. So that's in some of the deeds. And I apologize, I didn't realize that there would be audiovisual equipment. I didn't realize that I could have had a presentation.
You cannot have a presentation.
Okay, I cannot have, thank you for clarifying that for me. So it's not a surprise, is what I'm saying. No one should have been surprised that when you move to a beach, which is adjacent to a park, that this land, that people would be on the water, they have a right to be on the water, they have a right to be on these historically submerged lands. That's not a surprise. And they have incredible counsel. This is not a surprise, this doctrine. And any citizen of Illinois has standing to bring a legal action to challenge a violation of the public trust doctrine. And so, to the extent that this proposed consolidated plat purports to convey to Orchard 2020 the public beaches adjacent to the land, it's in legal error. And it would be ripe for challenge in the courts. Now, Mr. Schriesheim has brought a lawsuit against the Winnetka Park District. I know that you are aware of that, or it seems like some of you may be aware of that.
You're going on 5 minutes.
I apologize. And we know that because the action by the Park District violated the public trust doctrine in the Illinois Park District Code. Look, we know that the Village of Winnetka will do the right thing tonight, and that it will either table or reject the erroneous plat, and we appreciate that. But Mr. Schriesheim is willing to act again to protect the public's interest in this public land. Thank you very much, and thank you for the extra time. I appreciate it.
I request 2 minutes to respond to arguments that were made for the first time.
No.
Okay.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing probable or imminent litigation pursuant to Section 2C11 of the Open Meetings Act?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Trustee Kripe? Yes. Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
We'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you all for hanging out while we tried to get a better understanding of the issues at hand and what our responsibilities, obligations, and what opportunities we have relative to this issue. So at this point, I am not going to be taking any further public comment, rebuttal, or discussion. And council, I believe, is ready to move forward and act on this matter. So I'd like to ask for a motion to approve resolution number, help me out here, please.
R-127.
R-127, 2022.
Chris, I'd like to make that motion subject to one amendment.
Sure.
All right, so if everyone has the resolution, open it up. The proposed amendment is going to be to add 2 new whereas clauses. These will be go to the end of the whereas clauses, right before it's now therefore, the language nobody but lawyers uses. Okay, so we're going to add 2 whereas clauses. The first whereas clause that we would add is, whereas the village's approval of the plat of consolidation is not an adjudication, determination, or opinion on the eastern property line, which is a question of Illinois property law beyond the purview of this council or the application. The second whereas clause we would add is, whereas the village reserves its right to determine the eastern property line for purposes of applying the village zoning code if and when that issue is presented to the village. So those would be the 2 amendments to the resolution, and with those amendments, I would move we adopt the resolution.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any conversation up here?
So I just wanted to clarify, the purpose of that amendment is to recognize what is before us tonight, which is solely the plat of consolidation. The plat of consolidation does not and cannot convey any property. One, because the village doesn't own any property in this area, but 2, it doesn't establish or transfer one property from one property owner to the state or the state to one property owner. So the purpose of the recitals is to make it clear that we are only adopting a plat of consolidation, and any determination with regard to that lot line under our zoning code, which we do have authority to determine, will happen when and if we have to make that determination.
That's great. And the one thing I want to reinforce before we take the vote is that, certainly sitting on the sidelines for the issues happening at the Park District and the fact that the community is energized by the issues related to our lakefront, our upcoming study session is going to be critical. And we aren't going to rush into it because we want to make sure we have the appropriate professionals available to help guide us and help us understand what the rules, regulations, facts, and figures are. It's easy to stand up here at the podium and say all sorts of things, but as an elected body, we really are held to a higher standard than opinions offered at the microphone. So we're going to do the hard work. We're going to find the right people. We're going to bring them to the table, and we hope that everybody in this room will join us for those conversations so we can start building some good policy and potentially some new ordinances that will be reflective of our concerns with the lakefront developments going forward. So with that said, we have a motion, we have a second, we have an explanation by our village attorney. Call the roll.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yes.
Motion carries. And that should do it.
Thank you very much.
Moving forward. Oh, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
No.